Thank you, Gabriela. I will need the clicker if there is a presentation available. A couple of slides. Let's just see if it comes online. Then just a couple of illustrations for the audience. Thank you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, the chair, very honored to be here today. I've learned a lot already since this morning, and I'm looking forward to sharing a couple of thoughts and perspectives on some of the fields that may be new to some of you. So a lot of what we discussed was AI, a little bit less on quantum. So I'm going to try to shift this towards quantum. I do come from, must say, from a company called IDC, which is pioneer in quantum networking, recently acquired by IonQ, American quantum computing company. So it's my field of work. Now, I also must say that previous talks about AI sparked a couple of things inside of me. One is that couple of comments before I start, and that is that you see, AI as we know it today, it seems groundbreaking and seems disruptive with huge potential. But the way it's done, the way the architecture of AI works today is very limited. It's something called vertical stacking, if anybody has heard of that. AI today, neural networks work vertically on top of very powerful CPUs, GPUs, and very large data centers. And the way they're limited is that vertical stacking is really confining the way it works. The demands for energy and space are so huge that you have today just amazing demand just for mini nuclear stations, power stations, just to power all these new data centers. That comes from its architecture. Now, another mini revolution that's happening that I would just like to mention is that the leading scientists know very well that, in fact, the way human cortex works, the way our brain works, is not vertical stacking of neural networks. It's very horizontal. However, ANNs do not work like that today. This is why there is another mini revolution happening out there, and that's called edge computing, or taking AI out of the data center and spreading it horizontally. These are new platforms that are coming out, and I'm very happy to have taken part in one of those early startups that does this in edge computing, building horizontally distributed AI. Why this matters? It matters for the society because we can, if I give you the smallest, simplest of use cases, just imagine a town where if there's an emergency call, the emergency vehicle getting out of the hospital would in real time be coordinated throughout the city, and the street lights would flash a couple of minutes earlier in the direction where the vehicle will go. And as it changes its mind and turns another way, everything would coordinate in real time with no cloud, no data center. That's AI in the edge. That's called, edge computing, and that's coming. And so when I was coming here, I had dilemma whether to talk about that, or whether to talk of something that's even bigger, a bigger wave that's going to disrupt us. So I'm going to switch to my topic of the day, which is quantum. Why quantum is even bigger topic than edge? It's bigger because the times have shifted, the progress is accelerating. And if you take, this is just to illustrate to you how things have shifted in the last couple of 100 years, and we still live in the information age or the digital age. Some call it the Silicon Valley age. That's significant to be understood because it's very recent. It's the last 50 to 70 years, and it also comes with a lot of power, access to information and power on the state level, and it has to do also with geopolitics. So we live in the information age. It's also a source of data, which we heard about last night, which was a fantastic commentary and presentation. The data gets collected and stored. So we live in that age. But there is another age looming. And what will happen? I'd like to just discuss that. What can happen? I'm going to switch to this slide first. I'm going to talk about aspirin to give you an idea of the perspective. So aspirin, So people have been chewing the willow tree bark for a couple of thousand years until nobody knew why it worked, why it helped with fever and a couple of other alignments until in 1896 or something like that, a German scientist in Bayer managed to isolate a couple of compounds in willow tree and created aspirin. Yet even then, nobody knew why it worked. It was a product, nobody had an idea until 1971 when John Vane, not the actor, but the scientist, got a Nobel Prize for explaining why it worked. It took 74 years, and he worked from the outside in. Nobody understood how it dealt with an enzyme in the body. Um, things like this is because we use trial and error, and we still do trial and error. And why we do trial and error, particularly in pharmaceutical medical research, but in other parts of science as well, is because molecular simulations, or what happens on the molecular level, are impossibly complex to compute with any classical technology. We don't have, even with the most powerful data centers and AI, you cannot really process or simulate that, nor we will in 5 or 10 and 15, 20 years. So a fundamentally different type of compute is needed, and that's the quantum compute. And quantum computing, what it will allow us very soon, we're talking a couple of years from now, is to do these molecular level simulations in weeks or days or hours or even minutes. And so breakthroughs that took 74 years can be cut down to just hours. And just think about it for all the other fields that may benefit from such a power. You're talking chemistry, biology, genetics, fertilizers. It's a huge problem. The production of fertilizer takes 3 to 4% of all energy on the planet. And if we could lower this, it's a huge impact. So it's just a vast area of advancement in front of us. Now, why is this is, I call this a race. Why there is a race? I removed the slide with a race, not to make this political with flags and investments. It's a massive race. There are tens of billions pumped into this. It's a race because having access to this will allow certain countries to reset geopolitical map of the world. You know, being ahead for 10 years in quantum is like being ahead for 50 years in classical compute. You know, in 10 years of having access to quantum, you can come up with a lot of innovation, groundbreaking, including military, advanced materials, and so many other things that it will just shift the economy rapidly. But there is one other thing, and I do not see the clock over there very well. I don't know if I'm running. I do not know if I'm running out of time. There is one other thing outside of what we call happy quantum. What I've been talking about until now is called, we call in our jargon in the industry, happy quantum, because it will make humanity very happy. There is a darker side to it, and that is that quantum computing is fantastic at certain mathematical problems. And the one that it's really brilliant at is the foundation behind public key cryptography we use today to protect secrets. And so it's the end of public cryptography. As you know, this is why there is a lot of work on coming up with a new set of cryptographic algorithms and standard. So this race, there is a race within a race, or as the writers would call that in a novel, there is a plot and a subplot with potentially an opportunity for a subplot to emerge as the real plot, not just to remain a subplot. So this race is twofold. And me being we've heard this morning about diplomacy and about spiritual diplomacy, which I liked a lot. And I've been in cyber diplomacy for many years, working with many countries on the secrecy of private citizen data as well as corporate data and state access to information, which is another fascinating topic. But this race leads to whoever's there first. You obviously should not expect to see the news on Facebook. Just like the Enigma machine that is on the picture here, nobody knew for years the British had access to being able to crack the secrets. Hence, once something called Shor algorithm runs on a quantum computer, we will not know it. It will be a state power to crack the secrets of the other side. This is why the experts believe to protect against these quantum attacks, the only way to protect long term is also through quantum technologies or quantum physics. and this is quantum communication that we work with. So that concludes my presentation, and I call for governance, better governance, and cooperation between nations on these topics to avoid getting a massive asymmetry being built in a rapid, never before seen progress and speed of such an asymmetry being created. We've never seen that in history. So it's an important topic. Thank you very much.